Good evening and welcome to tonight's Undaunted, bringing to the news untold stories. I am Oyi Okbala. Let's begin. As the people of Ambazonia endure yet another year of deepening humanitarian crisis under foreign military occupation, the cries of the hungry, the displaced, and the oppressed continues to echo through the hills and valleys of the homeland. Children in war-torn villages are growing up with empty plates and no schools. Families are torn apart by forced disappearances. Hospitals are turned into military posts. Amid this immense suffering, a fresh wave of outrage has been sparked by reports of covert election operations within the Ambazonian territory. In a strongly worded press conference issued today from the State House in Buea, the government of the Federal Republic of Ambazonia has condemned what it calls a betrayal of the highest order, accusing a group of Ambazonian citizens of secretly coordinating voter registration drives for La Republic to Cameroon upcoming elections inside Ambazonia. These operations aim to enroll Ambazonian citizens into the electoral rolls of a foreign regime. The statement reads, in clever violation of Ambazonian sovereignty and international legal norms. His Excellency Dr. Samuel Ika, President of Ambazonia, delivered a fiery denunciation of the individuals involved, stating clearly that let it be known to the world, Ambazonia is not and will never be a province of La Republic to Cameroon. Any Ambazonia who aids the enemy is normalizing occupation and is guilty of betrayal and will be held fully accountable. The government has officially named several individuals accused of facilitating these operations and has ordered an immediate cease and desist, warning that further collaboration with the occupying regime will invite firm consequences under Ambazonian law. Officials have emphasized that this is not just a political issue, but a matter of survival, dignity, and national identity. For a people already battered by war, economic blockade, and neglect. Well, all this and more we'll discuss on tonight's Undaunted with our in-house analysts right in the other studio. But for now, let's get the prime headlines. Right, tonight on Undaunted, we said that butchers attribute the cow meat price. For the headlines tonight, butchers attribute the cow meat price hike to the ongoing war, which has complicated cattle transportation. Also tonight, mother arrested for allegedly torturing 7-year-old daughter to death in Buea. Buea counter sees deadly ambush on colonial government troops. Diaspora community preserves cultural heritage far from home. Tonight, we'll take a look at the Ambazonian government spokesman Issa warning against electoral collaboration with the Cameroons. Also tonight, Ambazonia declares Issa Tchiroma Bakary personnel non grata. On the African scene, death toll from Kenya's anti-government protests rises to 16 amidst international reports. Trump calls for end to Netanyahu's corrupt trial on the foreign scene. Now let's get the news in full briefings. Residents of Bamenda are feeling the pinch as the price of cow meat, or beef as it has been known, has increased by 100 francs per kilogram. The hike has left many consumers wondering how they will afford their stable meat. According to butchers in the city of Bamenda, the price increase is a direct result of the ongoing war in Ambazonia, which has made cattle movement extremely challenging. According to a customer, it says it's getting harder and harder to bring cattle into the city. Said one butcher, the crisis has disrupted our supply chains and we are forced to pass on the increased cost to our customers. The new prices have been felt across the city, with many consumers expressing frustration. Some are saying they do not know how well they will manage with the new price, as it is a very expensive commodity and it has become luxury for them. The price hike is likely to have a significant impact on local economy, particularly for low-income households who rely heavily on cow and beef as a source of protein. As the war continues to affect the Ambazonian communities, it's unclear when prices will stabilize for now. Residents of Bamenda will have to adjust to the new prices or explore alternative protein sources. From our reporter, he gave us the new prices as the previous price was 2,500 francs CFA per kg. The new price is 3,500 francs per kg. Now, the question is, what is this impact? It has increased financial burden on low-income household, potential shift to alternative protein source, uncertainty about when prices will stabilize. So far, what are the butchers saying? They are saying that it's not their fault because cattle movement restrictions are on the high due to the war, and that has disrupted supply chains and it has also increased cost passed on to customers. And so we are saying that the situation is likely to remain challenging for both butchers and consumers in Bamenda until the war is resolved and cattle movement becomes easier. Well, before we meet our in-house analyst, let's take this report coming in from Buea, where a 32-year-old mother identified as Victory is currently in colonial police custody in Buea, the southwest region of La Republic de Cameroon, for allegedly torturing her 7-year-old daughter to death. The tragic case of domestic violence and child abuses sparked outrage and renewed concerns about child abuse. Well, according to a report, the accused admitted to physically assaulting her daughter, Shama Bright, but claimed her intention was to discipline and not to cause death. The incident reportedly occurred on Monday, the 23rd of June 2025. Sources says the mother beats the child for nearly 30 minutes, alleging as punishment for defecating in the wrong place and for being stubborn. According to reports, after realizing the child had stopped responding, she rushed her to a nearby clinic. Shama was then referred to the Buea Regional Hospital, where she was declared dead on arrival. Her body is currently at the mortuary. This case is particularly disturbing given the age of the victim and the severity of the alleged abuse. Human rights advocates and child protection groups have condemned the rising trend and are calling for stricter enforcement of child protection laws. As this is a developing story, further updates will be provided as more information becomes available from our official reporters and official sources. Barrister Mbeseha, this is not the first time, we get to hear of beating a child and the child getting dead, or sometimes, throwing a newborn baby into either the dustbin or the gutters, or something very scary happening, especially in Buea. What can you say is the reason why some of these issues are on the high? Is it because that probably in the Cameroons there is no child protection law, or probably because it's not as effective it's as it should be, or as we have seen it in other climes?
Well, the issue of a 7-year-old baby, call it a baby, being killed or being tortured or dying in the hands of his or her own mother is not an easy case to analyze, because a child is a child. Children 7 years and above or below are basically innocent children.
Very innocent.
They're innocent. Whatever thing happened to the child, or whatever thing the child did, is not worthy of any serious punishment. They ought to be corrected. If the narration there is correct, that the child defecated somewhere on an unwanted spot, what is new there? What was the child doing when the child was just 2 months old? What was she doing when she was only 1 year old? She was defecating on your laps, on your clothing. Even if you put your dish of food there, the child will defecate there. So the interesting thing about this is, if this story is true, this is the mother of the child. So we cannot presume that the woman hates the child. That's her own baby. No mother should do that to her own child. But if you go behind the screen and find out what is going on, it's something more than just killing the child. That mother who did what she did to her own baby might be suffering from something emotionally disturbing, which might be as a consequence of this war. We don't know much about her. The war might have taken away important things in her life: her children, her husband, her house, her income. Anything that she had is going to affect her emotionally. And that emotional affection will be able, emotional behavior would affect what she does to her own children, to her own husband, to her own neighbors. So it's a bigger case. It's not a question of punishing her, because she'll be punished. Because no child should be killed, no child should be tortured. She will suffer the consequences. But the issue is, how do you get to this level that mothers will kill their own children of that age? Not just killing out of anger, because if you struck the child palm on the head, the child will die. But torturing her. Torture is something that gives slow death. You lock up the child for days, for weeks, without food. That's torture. The child will die. You do a lot of things that the child will die. So that is torture. That is continuously killing the child. And so it's not a spontaneous action that the mother was angry and hit the child's head and the child collapsed and died. So there's something wrong somewhere in the society. That society is the Cameroon society. They are doing this in Buea. Buea is just part of what they call Cameroon. If you go to Douala, you find parents selling their own children for money. You go to Yaoundé, you find them killing people, children, and selling their bones and their organs. So there's something wrong with that society which is totally absent. What is absent? The availability of government. Because government should take responsibility for the counseling, for the modeling of the community, for the bringing up of the mother. The mother should know what is motherhood. The father should know what is fatherhood. The parents should know what is parenthood. They should know how to know of their own children. If the child even stole groundnuts, stole peanuts, stole bonbon, they will beat the child. Because what's a bonbon? It doesn't cost up to 2 cents. But the child is even brought up to become a thief tomorrow, to become an armed robber. And so to try to discipline children as they grow up. As you said, defecating wherever it was. The child starts by defecating on your laps. Then when the child attains a certain age, you create the spot for the child. You teach the child to go there and defecate there. The child learns to go there. If the child misses it once, you take the child there to train the child. This is where you defecate. And so it takes years to bring up a child. It takes education for the mothers. We don't know how many children that woman has. It takes years to educate mothers how to bring their children. It's not the same level of, I don't mean academic education, of bringing up children. Number 5. But when I started with my first, I didn't have the same experience I had when I got to the death. Also, there's something wrong somewhere. The society as a society should be all based on things. Find out what is behind the scene. I personally don't know what effect. We don't know again, as I've said, where she's coming from. Something that she some ground that has emotionally affected her. To the extent that you see her moving up and down, cooking food, she's no longer a human being. She has been transformed into something by virtue of living in a war zone. by virtue of having lost her house in Garibu, or having lost her house in Nikona, by virtue of having lost everything she had. So the child to her becomes just a toy. Anything that would provoke her anger, as anger the case may be, can result in the death of the child.
Yeah.
Children are vulnerable. They are so young. It should not happen.
It shouldn't.
But if it happens, they go punishment. But when it happens repeatedly, not in one family, it calls on the government, it calls on state intervention to find out the different causes of what is going on with the children. Because we can protect the child, we can take the child from the mother or from the parents, but we shall not take every child from every parent. And so it is a responsibility of government. They have the agencies there. I think I have seen one ministry they call Ministry of Women and Child Protection. What are they doing? Just sitting around there and drinking beer and riding with limousines? No. Again, that mother might suffer some punishment, and she should, but that's not the answer to the problem. Go behind the screens, find out what is wrong with her. If there are university people over there, professors doing research into that woman's background, and you find that she's not alone. There are people who are actually infected with emotional traumas. That's all I can say about that. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much, Barrister Mbeseha. Now, moving on to other reports, let's get into some SA action. 4 colonial soldiers were reportedly neutralized and several others sustained injury in an ambush that occurred in Tobin, Buea County a day ago. That is June 24th. The Ambazonian State Army, operating under the command of General Newsman, has claimed responsibility for what they describe as a decisive action. And so the report reads that on the 24th of June, Tobin in Buea County, it became the scene of a fatal ambush targeting colonial government forces. 4 La Republic of Cameroon soldiers were reportedly confirmed dead, and reports indicate others were seriously wounded in the nighttime attack. The Ambazonian State Army, led by General Newsman's ambush squad, stated the operation was highly effective against their enemies. This incident shows the grim reality of the Ambazonian War, a situation that has cast a long shadow over the lives of people of southern Cameroons. The protracted war stems from deeply felt grievances regarding marginalization and the perceived neglect by the central government. For far too long, the people of Ambazonia have endured hardship, living with an ever-present sense of insecurity. In the face of these ongoing challenges, many within the affected communities view the action in groups like the SAs as a necessary defense. These fighters are often seen as protectors of their people, standing against a hostile adversary. The SA in their statement reminded the colonial government personnel that Ambazonia remains a no-go area to all of them, and expressed gratitude to their brave SA for always keeping the ball rolling till homeland is fully restored. All right, well, while we wait for the official images to be released from this particular report, Barrister Mbeseha, this is, would you say that for Buea, I'm not sure I'm so surprised. Buea has always been effective and sound, and at some point we're, advocating for other LGAs and other counties to be as effective as Buea. But what would you make of this particular report coming from Buea?
I think it is a very good report. For one important thing, we have told the world in general that Ambazonia, be it Buea, be it Manu, be it Kupe Manu, Buea is a zone where you go as a soldier, there's no return for you. You'll be lucky, I saw that one lying in a hospital bed, you're lucky to remain alive. Because that is where you meet your Waterloo. I've always said that. What are you doing there in the first place? There is no military guy, be it anywhere in Ambazonia, who is a friend. There's no military friend. Absolutely none. There's no civilized country in the world that deploys the military among its own populations in the pretext that they're trying to save them. Save them from what? With guns? Local insecurity, theft, banditry is combated by civilian corps, call it the police or the gendarmes, not by military in armored cars. And so if you're anywhere in Ambazonia with an army car, you are not a friend. If it is possible to take you down, we should take you down. Only your corpse should go back home. Because, again, I've said this many times before, we did not look for independence in 1961 to be under military occupation. Why are the military, what are they doing in Buea? There's war in Buea between war and war. The ASAs are Buea boys and girls. And so they have mounted an army to fight against Buea people? Certainly not. And so wherever the military finds itself, anywhere in Ambazonia, you are an enemy, a rightful target. Because there is no war that should be fought among Ambazonians. And so again, the military was never trained to go to the population, extort money from women, rape the women in the cartier, steal children, and claim to be a peace on the peace mission. No, they are enemies. And so that was a legitimate target. The good luck is that all of them did not even die, which is unfortunate to us. All of them, they took down only 3. If they would have wiped everybody there, including the armored cars, that would have even merited better congratulations for them. Keep struggling. Whether it is Buea or Manyo or Libialem or Kupe Madam, wherever it is, where you find somebody in Hemet, where you find somebody on AK-47, where you find somebody in an armored car, he is a rightful enemy. Take him down, take her down, because we did not vote for military occupation. What is the difference between what is happening there and what like talks about Makiza? They were the civilian, they were the military people deployed among the Bamileke people to rape and kill them for daring to ask for independence. They kill their own people. The same thing repeating itself in Ambazonia. For saying that we disagree with something, they take loans to buy armored cars, to buy AK-47s, to buy drones to come and silence you for daring even to talk. Again, we did not ask for independence to be under military occupation. We asked for independence to be civilians, to rule our own people. If we choose to have an army, that will be our choice. There are countries that in the world don't have an army. They have only civilian forces. Switzerland is one of them. You don't maintain a military. And so, what's happened in Buea, congratulations to the ASAs, and I will encourage them again, make sure the next time nobody survives to go to the hospital like this other one lying there. If you can decimate every one of them, including whatever equipment they bring there, that will be a legitimate target. Over to you.
All right, thank you so much, Barrister Mbeseha. Now let's move over to Ambazonians' cultural heritage. Ambazonians are known for their determination to maintain their heritage and connection to the roots even while building lives abroad. This is the case of the Kijom Keku community in the United Arab Emirates, who thousands of kilometers from their ancestral lands recently convened to reaffirm their cultural identity. On Saturday, June 14, 2025, the Kijom Keku community originating from Tuba in Ambazonia Midland Zone held a cultural celebration in Abu Dhabi. The event drew community members from across various emirates. The venue was beautified with traditional dances, communal meals, and display of colorful cultural attire. A key moment for the gathering was the official installation of Tieke Beng Cho Edwin as the new TNT, a traditional branch head. His appointment by His Royal Majesty from Wuzabun Benjamin of Kijom Keku took place on the 7th of December 2024. The new TNT delivered messages from the fund, emphasizing the importance of respecting host country laws, contributing to village development, and serving as cultural ambassadors in the UAE. Tieke Beng Kenyu will support the newly installed TNT, forming a leadership team dedicated to the community's welfare. Both leaders are tasked with keeping the fund fully informed about matters concerning Kijom Keku people in the UAE. The president of Nsente Kijom Keku UAE, Ma Bongale Divine, reiterated commitment to close collaboration with the newly introduced executive members. Their collective aim is to serve the community while actively preserving and promoting its rich cultural heritage. President Bakary extended an invitation to all Kijom-Keku indigenes in the UAE to participate in monthly meetings held every second Saturday, encouraging them to stay connected with their heritage. The event also welcomed friends and leaders from other associations across the UAE, symbolizing brother unity and mutual support within the diaspora. This gathering in the United Arab Emirates follows a series of engagements by Fund Benjamin Vuzumbong within back home, including visits to communities in Douala and Buea. Meanwhile, the fund is expected to meet the Kijom-Keku community in the UAE in the future, further strengthening ties with his subjects abroad. Now, moving on to the climax report for today. Ambazonian government spokesperson has issued warning against electoral collaboration with the Cameroons. Dr. Martin Mungor, spokesperson for the government of the Federal Republic of Ambazonia, has issued a firm warning to individuals accused of secretly assisting La Republic de Cameroon in organizing voter registration within Ambazonian territory. He said the Ambazonian government considers such actions as a direct violation of its sovereignty and a betrayal of the liberation cause. According to Dr. Mungwer, these operations aim to legitimize Cameroon's control over Ambazonia through illegal electoral processes, and those involved will be held accountable. He continued and confirmed that a list of names and collaborators has been compiled with evidence linking them to covert vote enrollment campaigns. These individuals, he said, are in breach of the 2018 Emergency Security and Anti-Collaboration Decree and may face charges of treason. Dr. Munger has revealed that the government has submitted detailed dossiers on the matter to the International Criminal Court, along with over 90 documented cases of foreign interference involving Cameroon, French, and the Nigerian actors. Calling for national vigilance, he urged all Ambazonian citizens to desist any attempt to involve them in foreign elections and to report suspicious activities to local authorities or self-defense groups. He reiterated the government's position that Ambazonia remains a sovereign nation and will not tolerate any efforts to normalize occupation through political manipulation. Barrister Mbeseha. This communique was released and there were actual names that Dr. Martin Mungo dropped there. But it's quite worrisome that regardless of all of the information that has been dropped out there, that Ambazonians are not allowed to vote, not just because they are not allowed to vote, but because there is no need to vote. I think that probably they have forgotten, because I do not understand how it's possible that with all of the societal damages and the low lifestyle that Ambazonians are living, poor road networks, lack of basic amenities in general to say, people are still willing to get involved in the elections. I'm sure this is an area you'd want to educate the people about again.
Well, talking about elections, the communique from the spokesperson of the government is quite in order. What I might want to do is just to add fresh to it. Because, you see, if all Ambazonians at the home front refuse to go out to vote, there will still be elections in Cameroon. They will still have a president in terms of presidential elections. And so, why does Ambazonia, whoever in Ambazonia, wants to force himself or herself to where they don't belong? The refusal to go for elections is symbolical. It's telling them that we don't belong to that thing. I've said here many times, each time this week, that come October, we're going to meet somebody in Yaoundé who should have been elected or choosing to represent them. How they get him is not our problem. Also, why must we go and vote there? Why must we force a sense of belonging where we don't belong? For those who don't know, the last elections that Ambazonia ever had was in 1959. That was the last election they held, when Francha was able to defeat Ndali. That was rare competition. Going forward from that day, there has never been any elections anymore. After 1959, the next election came in 1964. Ahiju forced Francha. They must adopt a list system. List systems are completely not democratic. Also, that was the last time we saw elections, when somebody could rightfully say that he had won, he or she had won, parliamentary or their constituency. Again, you ask yourself the question, at the height of their so-called democracy in the 1990s, before 1990, remember, Mr. Dinka, Dinka, had called on all Ambazonians in Yaoundé to withdraw from the National Assembly, and that would have ended the occupation of Cameroon, of Ambazonia. They did not. Came 1990, came an adventurer called Frundi. He did not only win elections, that he was refused. His constituents, his people won a lot of seats in parliament. What did those seats mean to them? What change did they effect on the map of Cameroon as a party trying to get power? Absolutely no power. Again, elections have lost their value, be it at the parliamentary, at the council, or even at the Senate level. Absolutely no meaning to us. We know, for example, that today, in the parliament of Yaoundé, they have 20 MPs from the so-called Northwest and 15 from the South. That's a total of 35. How did they give them 35? How did they give them 35 seats? Nobody knows the basis on which they were given 35 seats. Somebody said in Yaoundé, I made a decree. Elections in Ambazonia were never like that. You were a parliamentarian, or you had a constituency defined by population. They will say, for example, people in Bali and Bafut are 100,000. And the lowest number of people that a parliamentarian can represent is 80,000. And so these people are 100,000. Two of them jointly give us one parliamentarian. That's not the case today. What's the reason for which Bamenda, which is twice the size of the whole southern region, give only 20 seats in the National Assembly, while the southern state, the southern region, gives more than that? Absolutely nothing. Elections have no meaning to us. We don't belong there. We should not go there to baptize their evil. They are trying to go for presidential elections now. The outgoing president was supposed to have been elected in 2018. In that elections, officially reported, the participation rate of Ambazonia, in other words, Northwest and Southwest combined, was less than 20%. Nonetheless, they had a president. They still had a president who has been there for 7 years. He has done nothing for the people. Rather, he has killed you. The war has not ended. In fact, they used the very elections to declare war on us and to ban the electorate that are supposed to be electing, to discuss even the causes of the war, to discuss whatever thing you are going through there. And so you force yourself to belong. Is it the act of treachery? Of course. Because the people who are being recruited to promote this idea of elections, they are not illiterates, they are not old mothers, they are people who were groomed. Some of them professors in Yaoundé, some of them doctors. Why are they trying to belong to where they don't belong? Again, if you don't go for elections, they will still win. You're going to have a president in Yaoundé. Our focus is not elections. Our focus is who is the next president. And I've said, come October, we are going to meet other Buea, a regenerated Buea in Yaoundé as the president, or somebody else who will sit there in this position as the president of Cameroon, who will be forced to talk to us, who will be forced to discuss the terms of separation or whatever thing together. And so we have no interest, and we should not have any interest. These people are forcing themselves to go and register to vote. They are doing so simply, in most cases, Because they are bribed. You go and register, they pay you, they give you bread, they give you sardine to mortgage their own future. So again, elections not part of us. Not because we don't know, but because we want them to know, I want the world to know that we're not part of whatever thing comes out there. Even if they are the best elections, they don't concern us. Because we've gained nothing out of elections since 1959. We have seen governments change there. We have seen parliamentarians. Let anybody in Ambazonia mention any item of development. A school, a college, a university that was ever discussed politically in Yaoundé before it was built. Zero. A road. You want the ring road. The ring road, even if they were to construct that road, it is not found in the budget of Cameroon, which is discussed in parliament. It's not there. So elections have no meaning to us. We have imprisoned ourselves to these people. They have occupied us physically. They have occupied us mentally. And so forced us to believe in what they think, masturbated ourselves, our brains, to make us look like them. But again, as Buea said, they have tried to assimilate these people for past 40, 60 years, and they have failed. And so elections will change nothing. No reasonable Ambazonian should go registering to vote. Not because we don't know, we know the consequences of their voting or not voting. But we know that with or without Ambazonia, they will have a president. We know that come October, that president, be it voted or appointed from France or from anywhere else, should be forced to come and sit down with us and discuss the problem, the terms of separation, and how to do it. And so the communique from Dr. Mungba is very much intact. It is on all fours with what we think. And then we wish to remind our brothers and sisters who are venturing into this venture of going to register people for voting. We have said that Electoral, for example, that organized election, they are out of our territory. They are our enemies. And so if you act as their agent, you are equally an enemy by association. And so if something happens to you in that process, you have yourself to blame, no one else. You cannot see death go enter into a trap with your own naked eyes and blame someone else. If you are so interested to vote, move to Douala, move to Munda. If you go there and register, you can vote there if you want, because it's meant for these people who are resident in that country. But claiming to come and organize elections in Widikom, in Akwaya, somewhere in Ambazonia is illegal. We don't want it. If you do so, you are collaborating. You are putting your life at stake. Over to you.
Thank you so much, Barrister Mbeseha. He said if you desire to vote, they should move over to the other side. I loved exactly how you put it. All right, but that's not the only communique we have to analyze tonight. The federal government of Ambazonia has also officially declared former Cameroonian Minister of Communication Issa Tchiroma Bakary personnel non grata across all Ambazonian territory, citing his alleged role in enabling atrocities committed during this Ambazonian War of Independence. In a strongly worded statement issued on Tuesday, the Ambazonian leadership accused Mr. Tchiroma of being the chief propagandist for President Paul Biya's regime during its military campaign in southern Cameroons. The government warned that any attempt by Mr. Tchiroma or associates connected to his political activities to enter or campaign in Ambazonia will be treated as a serious violation of Ambazonian sovereignty and may lead to legal actions both domestically and internationally. Mr. Tchiroma is not welcome in Ambazonia, said the government of Ambazonia. His actions as Minister of Communication, including denial of massacres and justification of scorched earth tactics, directly supported war crimes and crimes against humanity. The government further revealed that Tchiroma has been named in a dossier submitted to the office of the prosecutor at the International Criminal Court in The Hague. The growing submission reportedly includes over 90 individual case files implicating not only Cameroonian officials but also nationals from France and Nigeria, and alleged to have supported or facilitated military operations in Ambazonia. President Samuel Ikomesaku, speaking on behalf of Ambazonian government, reiterated calls for international accountability. He says the people of Ambazonia have suffered enough. Those who helped orchestrate and cover up atrocities must face justice no matter their rank or nationality. The statement concludes with a warning to local leaders, political actors, and foreign governments against engaging with any campaigns or delegations affiliated with Mr. Tchiroma, emphasizing that such actions could undermine ongoing international legal processes. These developments marks a significant escalation in the diplomatic posture of the Ambazonian government, signaling a renewed push for global recognition and legal redress in the ongoing war in Ambazonia and the Cameroons. Barrister Mbeseha, here is another communique. This time the Ambazonian government is asking all of them to desist from supporting or leading any delegation of Mr. Tchiroma into the Ambazonian territory. What would you say about this communique?
Yeah, I like the communique, but I wonder personally whether any Ambazonian would ever have assisted Mr. Tchiroma to come do anything in Ambazonia. I doubt. But if that is the case, that is a big mistake. Because Issa Tchiroma is not just Issa Tchiroma. This man who has played a big role, a very important role in the destruction, in the murders, in the genocide that occurred in Ambazonia. So they will not do everything they want to do unless they have a spokesperson who will sell out their narrative. Issa Tchiroma was not doing it as a private man. He took up that function as the Minister of Communication to defend everything that was being done to us. And I still remember it is on record. In one of those interviews, I think 2019 or before, where he was asked, they were on public discussion with my colleague Bakary. He narrated all what was going to us and asked Issa Tchiroma, what did Issa Tchiroma say? Issa Tchiroma responded to the question, how do you say this? He didn't want it to be told out. He was speaking from the podium as the government spokesman. And he said he didn't want this thing to be told out. Of course, the ICC is there. Those are the people the ICC is looking for the commanders, those who instrumentalize the whole thing. He is not different from what they call in Rwanda radio meal calling, where they used the radio station to promote genocide. And so he is just one of them. I wonder, I very much doubt, if anybody with this sensitivity up there will ever come to Ambazonia to defend the position of Mr. Issa Tchiroma as a person or his political party. We don't need him. He should not even come. Now, if he dare come, every Ambazonian should look at him as the active. There are so many people in Cameroon who don't know much about what is going on in Ambazonia. Issa Tchiroma knows everything. He knows about Garata. He knows about Florence Ayafo. He knows details, every details. But remember what we say all this thing. Each of these times that these things are committed, the government will tell you we're investigating. And when they investigate, who announces the result of the investigation? Their government spokesperson is a portion of our government. Yes, we'll give arms to people in Garata. We cannot trust them. That's the position. It's announced by Issa Tchiroma or somebody in his position. Yes, we'll kill Flora and Ayafo, we're investigating. That's government spokesman. Yes, and yes, and yes. And so he's a symbol of the genocide. He's a real active symbol of the genocide. If people choose to forgive him, they may. But I don't think any Ambazonian should ever forgive this criminal. He's a criminal, either in the dock, or waiting for when he will go to the dock to be tried. And so we don't need him. He's persona non grata, that's a fact, that's the truth. We don't need him. And any Ambazonian who cooperates with him is also an accomplice to what he did. And so Ambazonians want to go out for the sake of money or for the sake of anything to support a certain guy called Issa Tchiroma. Issa Tchiroma is even more dangerous than Buea. Because Buea might have given the orders privately. Issa Tchiroma sold them out publicly. He defended them in the world to show how the genocide they were committing was no genocide at all. To show how Ambazonians fighting were just terrorists. To show how whatever thing happened to us was against the law, which in fact they were committing all illegalities on us. Issa Tchiroma knows what the African Commission on Human Rights said. He knows, he reads English. And this is Issa Tchiroma, he comes from Garua. Today, parts of Larger Ambazonia, northern Cameroon, they share the boundary with Garua, because the borders extended right to Lake Chad. When he was back on Issa Tchiroma in 1984, he fled to Nigeria. He speaks very good English. When he was there in Nigeria, just passed through where it used to be northern Cameroon. So he knows this history very, very well. He's not a small man, he's an old man. So he has read these things. He's well educated. And so he will run to Jos, he will run to Zaria and hide there. When the opportunity comes, he comes back to serve the criminal government in Cameroon. And then, most importantly, he comes back to perpetuate, directly or indirectly, the killing of Ambazonians, who are simply asking for a right to speak, who are simply asking for a right to voice their own grievances. And so Issa Tchiroma is never our friend. He is really a persona non grata. In other words, a person not wanted in that territory. Over to you.
All right. Thank you so much, Barrister Mbeseha. I'm sure that over the weekend there will be enough time to, delve into these two communiques. They would have other analysts in the house, and it will be dealt with extensively. But thank God and thank you for the foundation that you have laid for this conversation to even kickstart today. So we expect to have you and others on Saturday for an extensive analysis and discussion on these two government release communique this week. Thank you so much, Barrister Mbeseha.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. And right after the break, we'll get into Kenya to see what the government is doing and its latest development. The death toll from Wednesday's nationwide anti-government protest in Kenya has climbed to at least 16 people. According to a statement released by Amnesty International, the rights group has accused security forces of using excessive and lethal force, with most of the fatalities reportedly resulting from police gunfire. The protests, which erupted in multiple cities across the country, including the capital Nairobi, were part of a larger movement opposing recent government policies, including proposed tax hikes and the rising cost of living. Thousands of demonstrators took to the streets to voice their discontent, resulting in widespread confrontation with heavily armed police units. Eyewitnesses' account and footage shared on socials shows police deploying tear gas, water cannons, and in some instances, live ammunition to disperse demonstrators. Local media outlets have reported that hundreds were wounded during the clashes, and human rights observers say the true scale of injuries may be higher than initially reported. But in a joint statement, the Kenya Medical Association, the Law Society of Kenya, and the Police Reforms Working Group condemned the security forces' action, confirming that among those injured, several had suffered gunshot wounds. Medical professionals also reported being harassed or obstructed while attempting to treat the wounded. It says, "We are deeply concerned by the excessive use of force against civilians exercising their constitutional right to the protesters." The joint statement read that the use of live bullets against unarmed citizens is unacceptable and must be urgently investigated. Video circulating online also shows scenes of chaos and panic as protesters flee volleys of tear gas and rubber bullets. Human rights groups and civil society organizations have called for independent investigation into the police response, urging accountability for those responsible for the violence. President William Ruto's administration has faced growing criticisms in recent months over economic hardship and unpopular fiscal reforms, while the government has defended its security measures as necessary to maintain law and order. Other people argue that the crackdown is part of a broader pattern of suppression of dissent. International observers, including the United Nations and the African Union, have expressed concern over escalating violence and called for restraints and dialogue. Amnesty International and other rights groups are now urging the Kenyan government to allow peaceful assembly and to hold security officers accountable for unlawful use of force. As the country seeks views from the latest round of unrest, many fear further violence of grievances if grievances are not addressed. Right after the break, we'll see what's happening as Trump calls for end to Netanyahu's corruption trial. Well, former U.S. President Donald Trump has called on Israel's authorities to pardon Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu all dismiss the ongoing corruption trial against him. In the post shared on his social media platform, Trump framed the trial as a politically motivated attack and praised Netanyahu as a key ally in what he described as a shared victory over Iran. Trump's comments come amid heightened tensions in the Middle East following a brief but intense 12-day missile exchange between Israel and Iran. The former president claimed the U.S. had served and saved Israel during the conflict, including to American diplomatic and intelligence support, and said it was now time to also save Bibi using Netanyahu's nickname. Netanyahu, who has been facing charges of bribery, fraud, and breach of trust since 2020, is accused of accepting expensive gifts from wealthy businessmen and offering regulatory favors in exchange for positive media coverage. The 74-year-old Israeli leader has consistently denied all allegations, calling them a witch hunt orchestrated by political opponents. In response to Trump's remarks, Netanyahu issued a public statement thanking the former U.S. president for his moving support for him and his tremendous support for Israel, highlighting their long-standing alliance during Trump's administration. Under Trump, U.S.-Israel relations reached new highs, marked by the recognition of Jerusalem as Israel's capital and the brokering of the Abraham Accords with several Arab nations. However, Trump's appeal for intervention in Israel's judiciary drew swift backlash from political opponents. Yair Lapid, leader of the opposition Yesh Atid party, criticized the comments as inappropriate and dangerous. No foreign leader should intervene in the legal process of an independent state, Lapid said, emphasizing the importance of upholding judicial independence in a democracy. Legal experts in Israel also expressed concern over the implication of Trump's statement. According to them, said this is a blatant attempt to influence the judiciary and undermine the rule of law, said Dr. Michael Ben-Ari, a legal scholar of the Tel Aviv University. Trump's remarks comes on the heels of criticisms he leveled at Israel for launching a military strike on Iranian targets, just hours after he had announced a U.S. brokered ceasefire between the two countries. The Israeli government has not officially responded to that criticisms, but sources close to Netanyahu have downplayed the disagreement, framing it as a misunderstanding. As Netanyahu's trial continues, the political and legal stakes remain high. Despite the charges, he has managed to maintain his grip on power and recently secured a fragile government coalition. The trial, now in the 5th year, is expected to stretch well into 2026 unless a settlement or dismissal occurs. With Trump actively campaigning for a return to the White House in forthcoming election, U.S. President has continued engagement with Israeli politics could aid further complexities to already volatile regional dynamics. Well, that's not all. The UN chief warns of record armed conflict, urging global action to prevent atrocities. United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres has warned that the world is facing the highest number of armed conflicts since World War II, calling on member states to renew their commitment to protecting civilians from mass atrocities. Speaking at the General Assembly meeting marking the 20th anniversary of the Responsibility to Protect doctrine, Guterres cited escalating violence and humanitarian crisis in regions like Gaza, Ukraine, Sudan, and Myanmar as urgent reminders of the global fight to prevent war crimes and protect vulnerable population. The question is, where is Ambazonia in the mix of all of this? States must not look the other way when civilians are under threat, Guterres said, stressing that the responsibility to protect, adopted by the UN in 2005, remains a critical moral and political obligation to prevent genocide, ethnic cleansing, war crimes, and crimes against humanity. Despite criticisms over the uneven application of R2P, Guterres urged nations to strengthen conflict prevention efforts and uphold international law. He says that the collective security depends on shared humanity. The speech comes amid rising geopolitical tensions and division in the U.S. Security Council, which has underscored challenges facing international cooperation and peace and human rights. That's where we draw the curtains on tonight's Undaunted. But before we go, let's take a look at the stories that made the headlines. Well, tonight on Undaunted, we talked about butchers attributing the cow meat price hike to the ongoing war, which has complicated cattle transportation. Also tonight, mother arrested for allegedly torturing 7-year-old daughter to death in Buea. Buea County sees deadly ambush on colonial government troops. Diaspora community preserves cultural heritage far from home. Also tonight, we told you that Ambazonian government spokesperson issues warning against electoral collaboration with Cameroons. Ambazonia has declared Issa Tchiroma Bakary personnel non grata. On the African scene, we told you that death toll from Kenya's anti-government protest rises to 16. And also on the foreign scene, we told you that Trump has called for an end to Netanyahu's corruption trials. That's it for tonight's Undaunted, bringing to the news untold stories. On behalf of Barrister Mbeseha and the team of technicians behind tonight's Undaunted, it's good night and God bless.